am joined with Christi Bender at DeCampli Bender CPAs, and this interview today is about giving an audience an overview of you and your firm at DeCampli CPAs. So Christi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's Friday, so what's not to be great about?
No kidding. I couldn't agree more. Awesome. I'm so excited to be speaking with you today and learn a little bit more about you and your firm. So before we get into the questions, I thought it'd be smart to start with giving a background on you and why you do what you do. So can you talk to us about your business and what led you to starting DeCampli CPA or DeCampli Bender CPA?
Sure. My husband and I are partners, so he's the DeCampli, I'm the Bender. And between the two of us, we've got about 35 years of experience. He's been doing tax work strictly ever since he got out of college, but my background's been a lot more varied. And one of the things that I used to do out in the corporate world was I found out that it was so unrewarding because I would churn all these numbers and do all these reports and be in all these meetings, and I never actually saw how what I did impacted anybody. But now that I'm in the tax world, and this is what he talked to me about when he wanted us to collaborate and work together with taxes, is that we're able to really see how much what we do now affects the stress level of our clients. So for so many people, taxes are complicated, they're overwhelming, they change all the time, Lord knows, especially lately. And when we work together and we are the face of the firm and we have personal time with our clients on the phone, via Zoom calls, in the office, we really get to see the impact that it has to our clients, their families, and their current and future lifestyle. And that makes it so much more rewarding than working really hard to do a report to have it stuffed in a drawer.
Yes.
Where it's at.
I can totally imagine that. That's great. Now, who would you say is your target customer?
So the word niche is the big thing that runs around small businesses these days, that you have to have a niche. And we have a number of them, actually, because we have different skill sets, he and I, and we've found that we can serve different kinds of clients in different ways, but we still are somewhat niched. So first off is our small business clients. We can do more for small business client than we can for a 1040 client, generally speaking, because the tax law is much more complicated for a small business client, and that's where I can get into doing real tax planning. But we also have a lot of individual clients that are not what you would call plain vanilla. They may not have their own business, but they have rental properties or complicated investments, or they're going through a big life change event. They just got married, they just had triplets. I have 3 clients with triplets. They're getting ready to retire, or they're starting to plan for that. They've just gone through a divorce, they've got a major health issue. All of those big life events end up funneling down to a tax return, and when we can utilize someone's actual life to save them tax dollars, it changes everything. So I've been seeing a ton of that, and lately I've been working with a number of my clients, say in the 45 to 50-year-old range, that are starting to see retirement on the horizon. And we're really trying to work in conjunction with my favorite financial planners who happen to have space in our office. And we can tag team really well to make the most use of the time between now and retirement so that people know exactly where they're going and how they're getting there. And the load it takes off clients' shoulders is just enormous when they start going, oh my God, there's a path and I know what it is and I can do this. Like, the confidence goes up. So with our small business clients, we can do real tax planning, and we can, of course, help them with understanding how the tax consequences affect them. But with those 1040 clients that are a little more complicated or have a life change event, being able to talk to us during the year before December 31st means we're not letting something in their life change that could be an opportunity go unaddressed.
Right, absolutely. So what would you say, and you might have already touched on this, but what would you say you are most known for? What is your unique differentiator in the industry?
So a lot of accountants say they do taxes and tax planning. but what they really do is taxes and projections. So projecting out what somebody is going to have to owe or what their refund will be at the end of the year at tax time is not planning. Planning is when you implement a plan and you pull in other strategies that are parts of the tax code that are legal, but they have to be implemented. You have to cross the I's, dot the T's. You have to make sure that they apply to you. A real tax plan utilizes all these strategies so that we can get a different number. We don't want to just project what it would be if we kept on the same path. We want to change that number to be something a little more advantageous. So one of the biggest things we do differently here is this formal tax planning. The other thing we do with our small business clients that sometimes they don't have a huge tax problem because they're not really profitable yet. So we do profit planning. So profit planning is a service that I offer, and if anybody has read the book or heard of Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, it's a way of helping small business owners get their profits first. So instead of saying revenue minus expenses equals whatever the heck is left over called profit, we go, no, no, no. We take revenue, take our profit first, and then we learn to live and grow our business on what's left. So that's where Profit First comes from. And it's not a different bookkeeping system, it's a behavior system. So a lot of small business clients, they don't look at their financial statements. They don't understand their financial statements. Even if we do the bookkeeping and we give them great ones, they kind of stare off into space. But they do know what's happening in their bank account. So we help them utilize their bank accounts in a different way so they can start making smarter decisions and have more consistent cash flow without ever really looking at their financial statements. We look at them, but they don't. So profit planning is something I do that not very many people do. And once we get the profits up, well, now we created a tax problem. So that's okay. I switch into tax planning, and now we plan to reduce the taxes.
Very nice. That's a great differentiator. Awesome. And then what do you think is the most significant thing you can do to ensure that your clients are happy with your services?
Oh, I spent a bunch of time pondering this throughout tax season when I was realizing that a lot of my clients needed a lot more than they were getting from me. And it was because I was allowing them to call me when they thought they needed to call me instead of me really leading our relationship. So I've just started putting together custom packages. A lot of other businesses and accountants, they'll have packages and it's like the bronze, silver, gold package. Well, everybody in their tax situation is so completely unique that that just didn't work for me. So I've started putting together these really custom packages for my clients, and I look at it and I go, okay, Dr. Bender, what does this client need? What ails them? And I sit down to go, in my skill set and my tools, what do I have that I can bring for this client that will give them really tangible results in terms of the checks they write to the IRS, or big emotional freedom in terms of confidence and relief about understanding things they never used to, so that they can partake in the decision-making process much more actively. And I put together packages that include profit planning maybe, or tax planning, certainly their tax preparation, more meetings throughout the year so we can continue to elevate their understanding, and I can be much more intimately involved in what's happening in their life so that I can make their life deductible when those life change events happen. And those packages, when I present them to clients, they're like, oh my God, you're right. I didn't even know I really needed that. But now that you tell me, oh, this is going to be fantastic. And I'm getting people that are just super excited about the fact that I'm not trying to shove them in a little bronze, silver, gold box, but I'm actually really taking the time to look at them and knowing them and their goals and their situation and putting together the package so we always know what's our next step. What are we doing next? You know, I always get the next appointment on before the first one has been completed. So everybody keeps the conversation going instead of it just being left to after December 31st, I guess we're going to put the numbers in the boxes and we'll hope. Like, we don't do that around here anymore. We're really doing a lot with this package thing.
You know, I really love that approach, that more proactive approach rather than wait and sit back and wait for people to approach you. That says a lot about your services because you're proactive and you're thinking of your clients first. So that's great information. Now, there's a lot of talk about changes happening in the industry. What do you see as the biggest changes we are seeing in the industry, in your opinion?
Oh, so a lot of people say it's all around artificial intelligence and the fact that nobody's going to need an accountant anymore. Artificial intelligence is going to be able to do all the bookkeeping and it's going to be able to do the tax returns and all that. And God willing, I hope it can, because that tedious nonsense is like the least important thing we do in my damn office. So what I like to think about is if we look at why do we really have taxes? Obviously, you have taxes to raise money for the government, but you also have taxes to incentivize human behavior. And when you start to think about it that way, you start to understand how the tax code is trying to get us to do certain things. And if you're aware of those caveats and those pathways, we can look at our behavior in a different way. We also are now looking at things over the long term. So we have an election coming up again, and it used to be for years that the tax code would get tweaked, and everybody kind of went, tax laws change, but they were never massively overhauled. Well, in 2017, with tax reform under President Trump, it got a massive overhaul. So lots and lots of things changed, most of them good for taxpayers, but not for everybody. And being able to keep up with those laws was great. Well, now we're facing another election, and depending on what happens in that election, some of that could get undone or it could continue to grow. So instead of just looking at, gee, how's artificial intelligence going to deal with the mundane tasks of my work, I'm now spending a lot more time looking at what's really happening to our industry because of the government law changes and the shift in the country's focus on a more personal level into ways that I can utilize that shift and help plan for it so my clients get better results.
Fantastic. Now, we've got time for one last question. So can you tell us about a significant client or event from your career or time in the business?
That would probably be just last year. I have a client, and she and her husband were both employed. They were W-2 employees, like lots and lots of people. And her company went through a restructuring. This is one of those life change events. And she decided to hang out a shingle and hung it out to do consulting and leadership training. And she is killing it. Oh my God, she's doing amazing. So they had this huge spike in their income, which means a huge spike in their taxes. So I sat them down and we did a really, really in-depth tax plan. And as a result of that, they're going to save over $100,000 in taxes over just 3 years.
Wow.
So that was so much fun. I mean, we had our rocky moments because trying to put together a plan that can save you $100,000 has a lot of things you've got to think about. But it was really fun. They really trusted me. They dove in deep. We had lots of meetings. And now that we have that tax plan in place, now we're building on it. Because in the beginning, you take a couple big strategies and you get them into place and you make some things work. But then every year, the laws change, their situation changes. And so now they're this client for me that I so look forward to my meetings with them because I'm like, what's happening now? Yeah. And immediately I go, how am I going to use this? And a lot of what we're doing with them is providing them with a ton of security. So we were able to free up a lot of money that used to go to the IRS. And they now have a great disability policy in case she can't work. They've been able to pay off their mortgage on their house because that was something that was personally really important to them. They're padding their retirement, tens of thousands more than they used to because they've got this money. And it's just so it's so fulfilling for me to be able to go, look, I'm putting numbers in boxes, but it's changing lives. So I think that that's huge.
That is incredible.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be able to see how much we can do when we really take the time, sit down, and work together. It's so much more than just compliance work and an annual event.
Absolutely, and how rewarding for you and your firm. Absolutely incredible. Well, thank you, Christi, so much for your time. I really have enjoyed learning more about your firm, and I hope this video gives others insights about what DeCampli Bender CPA has to offer. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you today.
That's great. Thanks.